So this has been here about 200 years. It looks a lot older than it actually is. The one before this one burnt down. Now one of the bad things about being here is that it gets quite loud. So hopefully you can hear me, but you might need to really sort of try and focus because it does get quite loud. Okay, so this building is probably the most important building in London and probably the UK because this is the centre of politics. So in terms of leading our country, it all happens inside this building here. This is where the Prime Minister will come, this is where the other members of Parliament will come, and they debate and they make the rules that sort of rule our country. Now, when Prime Ministers do things that we don't like, when they make decisions that we don't like, we go out in the streets and we get protests. We see that all the time, especially with things like war. We get anti-war protests. Now, one of the biggest decisions that has ever happened in this country was when Henry VIII changed England from being a Catholic country to a Protestant country, to being a Church of England country. So obviously when he did this, lots of people were very upset, they were very angry about this. But there was no freedom of speech back then. Like I said, you know when we did the vote? If you'd have voted against the king, then you could have been taken to prison, you could have been executed, because you couldn't voice your opinion against the king. That was not what you should do. So this led to lots of problems, because often when you keep people's opinions down, and you don't let them express themselves, you get big bursts of rebellion, and you get angry people because they're not allowed to voice their opinion. And they have to express it in a different way, rather than just protesting. Now, in 1605, we saw one of these blow-ups, right? Because 13 men, they were Catholics, they decided that they had enough and that they were going to try and start a revolution, and they were going to try and take England from being a Protestant country because of Henry VIII, and they wanted to take us back to being a Catholic country again. Now the way they were going to do this was quite extreme. They were going to get 36 barrels of gunpowder inside this building. They were going to get every member of Parliament, every politician in the country, and the King and Queen, and most of their family inside that building. Once they were all there, they then detonate the bomb that would kill everybody inside and destroy this building. Okay? When I say this building, it was the one before this one, as I explained earlier. So, that was their plan. They were going to do this on the 5th of November, 1605, because that was the annual state opening of Parliament. Every single person that I've just mentioned would have been in that building anyway, so it's a perfect day to do it. Now, to do this, they enlisted someone called Guy Fawkes. Has anyone heard of Guy Fawkes? Maybe? A couple of you might have done. Guy Fawkes is kind of the person that we remember from this story, because he was in charge of the explosives. He was the person in charge of detonating the bomb. Now, what Guy Fawkes did, on the 3rd of November, he rented out a storage room at the basement of the House of Parliament, and quite easily, he carted in the 36 barrels of gunpowder to the House of Parliament, and then all he's got to do is wait. He's got to wait until the 5th of November. Now, as you're probably aware, the plan, the bomb, never worked. It didn't happen. Now there was one reason why it didn't happen. It's because on the 4th of November, the day before the bomb was going to go off, there was a big party for members of Parliament. At that party was the brother-in-law of one of the 13 Catholic men. And one of the 13 Catholic men realised that his brother-in-law would have been in the building and would have died. So he's like, okay, I must get my brother-in-law out, but I want to still let the plan go ahead. So I did. He sent his brother-in-law a message saying, do not attend Parliament on the 5th of November, for there shall be a great happening. Okay? Now, of course, his brother-in-law received this message whilst at this party. The other problem was, his brother-in-law couldn't read, right? So when he gets this message, he's like, and he doesn't want to be embarrassed, so he hands it to one of his friends, another politician who would have been in the building, and says, read it aloud, I have no secrets from any of you. So he reads this message out saying, do not attend Parliament on the 5th of November, for there shall be a great happening. And when he says that, everyone in the room hears, and they all start to panic. They're like, oh my goodness, what could be going on the 5th of November? What is going to happen? They deem this note so important that they hand it up to the King of England. Right? King James I receives this message and he knows something is up. So, the morning of the 5th of November, he sends his guards into the House of Parliament and he tells them to check every single room in the House of Parliament and find anything that looks a little bit suspicious, right? Sorry, I'm really buzzing. So, they go around, they scour every single room. They get down to the basement, and they find Guy Fawkes, 36 barrels of gunpowder behind him, a little lighter in his hand, looking pretty suspicious, I'd imagine. And they're like, okay, that guy, he's got something to do with this. So they arrest Guy Fawkes on the spot. The plan has been scuppered.